It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real word.
We on a mission and that's bringing y'all the truth. You know the problem, but we get into the root. The devil watching, yeah, he always on pursuit. But Jesus is our rock, so we shall not be moved. We on a winning team, so we can't lose. We say facts, cause we hitting y'all with proof. Started from the bottom, now we standing on the roof. As God as our witness, we gon' make it to the moon. When you want the truth, the world be hiding it. This the real word, we providing it. We got Ace, BK, Truth, Rick Star, and we plan to make a movie like it's Pixar. We came a long way from the plantation. We just tryna save your souls from damnation. So if you down with the message, tune in every week. It will lead you to the message that you seek.
It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real word.
Welcome to the Real Word Season 9, Episode 23. Shout out to everybody that's been watching. Shout out to everybody that's been supporting. Shout out to everyone that supported our Haiti humanitarian relief trip that happened 2 weeks ago. Shout out to everyone that contributed to that. Shout out to everyone that donated to our gala, that came out to the gala. As you've seen, we fed over 100 families in Haiti. And we also helped the school, we helped a couple individuals, helped rebuild homes and all the other things that we did during our 2 weeks in Haiti. So shout out to everybody that supported. If you still want to support and donate, that's www.therealwordministriesinc.org. That's therealwordministriesinc.org, or Cashapp at $therealwordinc. That's $therealwordinc. Or PayPal, you could look up the Real Word Ministries Inc. on the PayPal Giving Fund. We have a very special guest with us here today. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hi, Rickard. I'm Paul Zolman, and I'm the founder of The Roll of Love.
What is The Roll of Love? Tell us.
The Roll of Love actually is a name I put on a die that I created that has the 5 love languages on it. Here you can see it has the words on it: time, service, the gifts, and touch. Mm-hmm. Five love languages, 6 sides on the dice. This one surprised me. Mm-hmm. So just two instructions, Rick. You roll the die every day. Mm-hmm. That's the love language you send out. You practice giving away all day that day. Mm. So it's almost like setting a theme for the day. It's an intention that you're going to love all day long. And intentionally, I put pictures on it. There's no words on the die at all. I put pictures on it so that it's kind of a memory hook. That it's just going to, a lot of people are visual people. Mm-hmm. They'll remember what the picture looks like, what they're doing on that day.
Okay. But my question to you would be then, where did this love language thing come about? Because I realize as of lately it's been popularized in pop culture, and even therapists now, they use it a lot more. But before, it wasn't as popular as it is now. Where do you think that originated from?
Well, the original person that came to that created or discovered the love languages, the principles of the love languages, was Dr. Gary Chapman, and he published a book first in 1992 called The 5 Love Languages. So Dr. Gary Chapman is a reverend as well, and he thought that these 5 love languages that we just went over, the touch, the words, service, time, and the gifts, all those 5 love languages are things that Jesus Christ did in his lifetime. Mm. And so in order for us to follow Jesus Christ more perfectly, this was created, the love language is created. And Dr. Chapman further found out that people have what they call a primary love language. And I'm in agreement with all that. I'm so grateful for Dr. Chapman identifying this, but I didn't really get his application, so I had to create my own. So what my problem was, Rick, was that I was raised in a childhood of abuse. my father was gone during the week. He'd come home on the weekends, and we could expect a belt or a spanking, severe spanking on the weekend. I remember one time I was black and blue for more than 3 weeks from one spanking, and the distance between what I did and the punishment were so far apart. I never remembered what I'd done. I only remember the punishment. And so it was really, really kind of a hard situation. From that circumstance, though, I had a lot of pent-up anger, a lot of residual anger left over from my childhood that I was trying to get rid of as an adult. And even though I'd say I don't want to be angry, it's a negative statement. I don't want to be angry. And just sometimes something would annoy me. And what would happen, Rick, was that I'd be stacking those annoyances. I'd be annoyed, and then I'd flash.
Wow.
And just get really upset, get angry. And that, I'm sure, was part of what contributed to the demise of my first marriage. After 23 and a half years and 8 children,
8 children?
8, yeah.
Wow.
No, Rick, that's calm. I had a grandfather that had 9 children in Indiana, and then his wife passed away. And this was in the late 1800s, early 1900s. 9 children in Indiana. His wife passes away. He's so distraught that he sells the farm and he sells all the equipment. And when people come to pick up the equipment, he'd say, "And would you like this child? And would you like this child? And would you like this child?" And he gave them all away except for one. And they took Benjamin with him to Montana. And in Montana, he found a school teacher that had never been married. And he married her, had 10 more children, of which my father was number 6. So there you've got 19 children now. And when my father was born in 1922, and when he was 10 years old in 1932, that grandfather, his father, passed away.
Wow.
So now you have 19 children out there with abandonment issues. 1932 is right in the middle of the Great Depression, so now you've got financial issues on top of abandonment, and it's just some mental health issues all throughout there. Well, my father toned it down. He only had 11 children. Instead of 19 like his father, he had 11, and then I'm toning it down a little farther. I only have 8.
Did you guys grow up on a farm?
No. No. He was a truck driver. When my grandfather passed away, my father was only 10 years old, and because of the economic issues, he only was able to make it through 8th grade, and he had to drop out of school, and so he became a truck driver, and just that's what he did for his whole life.
Wow.
And so he was gone in the middle of the week. He'd come home on Friday nights and have a date with my mother. He always had a date on Friday night with my mother.
When you say date, you mean intimacy?
No, I just mean they went out.
Oh,
they
okay.
went out. Yeah, but it wasn't it wasn't very creative. It was always the Maverick Bar, and it was always drinking involved. And while he's getting drunk, my mom's telling him all the bad things that all the kids did. I'm sure she started at the top, but by the time she got to me, I'm number 10 of 11.
Wow.
By the time she got to me, my father's just like up here. He's just like ready to blow. And so when that happens, I felt like I got the brunt of a lot of that.
Wow. Sounds
so that
like
was
a lot,
the anger.
man.
Yeah, so that was the leftover anger that I had. And up until about age 35, Rick, I was blaming my father for all my failed relationships, all the things that went wrong, socially awkward things that went wrong, the relationships that failed.
Wait. We skipped the big part though. So you're saying your father had 9 kids. Did all 9 of you grow up together in the same house?
No, my father had 11 children.
Oh, sorry. Your father had 11, and you have 9 children.
No, I have 8.
Oh, you have 8, sorry.
My grandfather first had 9 with his first wife, and then 10 with his second wife.
Sheesh.
So 19 altogether.
Okay, so did all 11 of you grow up in the same house together?
Well, the first 3 passed away, so I didn't know the first 3. So,
that's unfortunate.
Yes, we all grew up in the same house together. All the ones that remained. There were 8 of us, 8 children now.
Wow. And did you guys grow up in the city, or you guys grew up in the country, or you guys grew up in a rural area, or?
Well, it's Montana, so it's you'd think it would be rural, but I have a funny story about that, Rick. That I went when I was 17. I left home trying to escape that type of environment. I left home and went and lived with my brother for 6 months before he and his family were transferred down to California. While I'm dating in California.
Wait, transferred by who? The military?
Oh, his company, just his business.
Okay.
His business transferred him down there.
Okay.
And so I'm dating this girl, and she's got a horse, and she's thinking, oh, he's from Montana, maybe he'd like to ride a horse. I've never ridden a horse in my life, so I feeling like John Wayne here, Rick, and I'm grabbing the saddle just like the movies. Grab the saddle horn, and I kicked my foot over, and I kicked way too hard. I landed on my butt on the other side of the horse. And she's laughing her head off. I'm from Montana and don't even know how to ride a horse. And she's from California. It's just a funny thing, but just one of those things that you have these dating mishaps once in a while, and that was one.
Yeah, but I think the whole thing with her and the horses in California, that's probably a wealth thing, The whole equestrian lifestyle, that's more connected to wealth, I feel like.
Well, yeah, and I think her father was well-to-do, but, when you're 16, 17, I don't ever remember thinking that way. Oh, your father's a lawyer. I want to date you so that, we'll be able to get into that money. Of that. Who would be thinking of that?
More people than you think, especially women.
It wasn't never me. I never thought that way. Never even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
If they lived in a nice side of town, I wonder, what did your father do to do that? Oh, he's a businessman. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me. How do businessmen make enough money to live in a place like this? And it just really never crossed my mind that I wanted to marry a sugar mama. Never crossed my mind.
So you grew up in a middle class home, you would say, or what would you describe your upbringing?
I would probably say it was probably lower middle class. It was not exotic. I remember our rent on the house was in the 70s was $100 a month, and I think it was a 5-bedroom house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably equivalent to maybe $1,000 dollars a month now,
mm-hmm.
or $1,500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Not much, really. That's not much rent. When you think about what rent you're paying where you're at,
mm-hmm.
and compare it to $1,000 or $100 for a 5-bedroom house in Montana, it's on the lower scale.
Yeah, of course.
Old home. That's a good thing you brought that up, because I really never discussed that. My parents were so afraid of buying a home that they always rented. They never. I think they owned one home in their life. They bought it for $11,000 way back when, before I was born,
mm-hmm.
and they bought it for $11,000, and they're so the maintenance on it and being responsible for the taxes and all that. They just thought, this is too expensive, I can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And they went back to renting. So they sold the house for exactly the amount of money that they bought it for. Well, it comes back from education, Rick. Remember, my father only went through 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so as you become educated, and you make better investments. So what I'm trying to tell you about this dye is that it's an investment of 2 seconds at the beginning of your day. And at that 2 seconds, you're determining, I'm going to love in that way today.
Mm-hmm.
That's the love I'm going to send out. And as I've studied this, Rick, what happens is that love is really kind of directional. But I can't bid it to come my way.
Mm-hmm.
If I ask somebody to love me that way, they might do it in a dutiful way, and it might turn to pure love. But it's more dutiful if I ask somebody to love me in a certain way. So what I figured out is that we only have control over 2 directions: sending it out and reacting obviously appropriately when it comes our way.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only 2 things. And what I found is that rolling the die, you'll learn all 5 love languages within a 30-day period. I was amazed. I still had that problem problem of stacking annoyance on annoyance on annoyance and then flashing. I still had that problem. My brothers had the problem. My dad had the problem. We all had the problem. And so it must have been a generational thing that passed down, that when things get tight or tough, we just get annoyed. But it's more than that. It's looking at somebody else and what they're doing and making a judgment call based on our own experience. We shouldn't even be in that lane. We're not their judge. Jesus Christ, thankfully, is the judge for everybody. And if we remember that, it's so easy to stay in our lane. I don't have to judge you. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to be like this. This is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. And you make that determination to love. You'll find all the 5 love languages that you can know them backwards and forward by giving it away over that 30-day period. And then you can see it. It improves your vision. So you've got this peripheral vision. You can see it when it comes your way. Because what Dr. Chapman discovered in that 1992 book is that most people with their primary love language, they want to give that primary love language away, hoping that it's going to come back. But that's transactional. That's not love. That's a transaction. And love is not transactional like that. Love really, to me, is giving it away without any expectation of it coming back, but trusting, having the faith that absolutely it's going to come back. It's going to come back full force. And what you're watching for while you're doing this, Rick, is that you're watching for people to light up. When they light up on that particular day, that's their primary love language. And you can just remember that, make a mental note, and watch, rinse, repeat. Do it over and over again to that person that you found out, you discovered in that way what their primary love language is. And you can send it.
One thing I wanted to dive deeper into what you said. You mentioned being married multiple times, and you compared it to also your parents' marriage. Take us through your first marriage and your second, what third, I don't know how many times. You want to speak on that or no, not really?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So in the first marriage and having 8 children, things were fine until I became annoyed. Like I said.
What do you mean by that?
They're fine. Yeah, things are going good until you're annoyed, and you're annoyed at either what the wife has done or you're annoyed at what the kids has done. And I just could not control that pattern, that generational pattern that had been passed down through the ages, and that's kind of what caused the problem.
Spanking the kids? You were spanking the kids too?
Yeah, I spanked the kids. Yeah. I told my wife and I told myself that I wouldn't do that, but yeah, I did. But it wasn't severe like that, because I could have been reported for severely spanking them. Yeah. But I spanked. There's no question I spanked them. I never did the belt. No belt at all. So
what did you use?
Pardon?
So how did you spank them if you didn't use a belt?
No, your hand.
How? Well, you slapped them upside their heads?
No, on the rear.
Oh, okay. So what about the big ones then?
What's that?
So what about the bigger ones?
Well, when they're 10 years old, they start turning around laughing back at me. So after 10, they didn't get spanked. It's just to kind of get them in the right lane on when they're younger than 10. So yeah, and then it stopped. It just you get to a point that it's just not worth it, because you're trying to teach children you're teaching them not to hit, and here you are hitting them.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. And that disparity, that hypocrisy there, is just really something that parents have to overcome. They've got to have their words match their actions, and I don't think I'm unique in that regard. I think there's a lot of parents that struggle with that.
But we're missing the main question is, besides the way you were annoyed with the children and with the wife, what other things do you feel like affected your first marriage with the 8 children?
Well, I think that there were times, and I know there were times that we were financially strapped, but there were other times that things were good. I tried to self-employment as I'm doing now, but I've tried self-employment several times, I thought that I could be a boss, and it's just interesting to me that I fluctuate back and forth from corporate life back into entrepreneurship, back to corporate life, back to entrepreneurship, and just trying to get the training that I needed to be a better leader. And I think that's a very good question, Rick, about why was it that I could not stay just as an entrepreneur, and I needed those leadership skills. It took me, remember that my father only graduated from 8th grade. My mother my mother graduated from high school, so there's no college within the family at that time at all. I had a brother that went to college, but he was 12 years older, but none of my other brothers and sisters ever went to college at the time that we're talking about, during that time frame. Then subsequently I had another brother that went and another sister that went, and they graduated, but I was really kind of a pioneer in going to college. I decided to go to college, but it took me 22 years to get a college degree. Wow. I had to do it part-time with all the kids and everything, and all the financial concerns that way. I had to do it part-time. I was just bootstrapping my way, but finally, when I was 42 years old, I was able to get a college degree. And
did your life change after the college degree, or not really?
Yeah. So it elevates your salary. That college degree elevates your salary, and things started to change for the better. But the damage had been done. Just 3 years after I got my college degree, then my wife and I, parted company. We separated and divorced.
So what happened to the 8 kids then?
Well, there was 3 of the kids were already gone, and I had the 5 children. I was a primary custodian for the 5 children that remained after the divorce, and my wife decided she wanted a different lifestyle, and she didn't want the children that would disrupt her lifestyle that she wanted.
What do you mean, different lifestyle?
Just a lifestyle that is not conducive to having a family. Just she wanted to be single. She wanted to run around. She wanted to do those kind of things that really the children shouldn't be watching or seeing anyway. And it's not a good thing. No, but she did have the children on the weekends. Oh. And on those weekends, what I did, Rick, was I took up, in this midlife crisis of mine, being separated and everything and being divorced, I took up destination dating. And I was living in Charleston, South Carolina at the time, and so I went down to Daytona Beach in Jacksonville, Florida, wow. Columbia, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Nashville, Kansas City, New York City, Cabo San Lucas, Phoenix, Salt Lake City.
To meet girls?
That's where, when destination dating is you live in a different place and you meet in a place. So this is where I met these women.
But they don't live there.
Pardon?
But they don't live there for real.
Some of them did live there in those cities, but some of them not.
Oh.
A person from New York City who actually was from Phoenix. So I'm from Charleston, she's from Phoenix, we met in New York City.
Wow, that's interesting.
Like a destination date.
So how was that though? Like,
it was fun for me. I mean, you don't find love that way, but it was fun. It was you find friends is all you find. You find
friends with benefits?
You find acquaintances, and that's about it. And it's not, I wasn't into the benefit so much that at that point in time, so it's just, I kept it clean, I kept it above board, I was a gentleman the whole time, but it was just fun traveling around. But I'm telling you, I was looking for love in all the wrong places, just like that song.
Yeah.
And it's just, it was one of those things. So I'm done with that. I did it for a year and a half, spent over $10,000 at the time.
I bet.
Flying here and there, and it was this, and that's kind of one of the lowest.
What career you had at that time?
I was doing mortgage brokering. Yeah.
Wow. So every time you closed on the deal, you was tricking.
Get a good deal, and then I'd make it even a better deal.
I bet.
Having a great time. So I'm done with that. I moved from Charleston, South Carolina, to Phoenix, and thinking that this girl that was from Phoenix might have a little interest. She had zero interest in making a long-term relationship. It was just that destination dating was fun, and she liked doing that, and and we were friends, and that's all it amounted to. So at the time, my sister thinks I'm sad. She thinks I'm really, really lonely, and so she decides, I'm going to introduce you to my neighbors, what she said.
Wow.
She lives 7 hours away from Phoenix. I said, I don't want to do any more destination dating. That did not work out. I don't want to spend the money. I just don't want to do it. And she's the older sister. So in that family makeup, I'm between two girls at the end. I'm a thorn between two roses.
I bet.
And it's just, so and I got to do what Big Sister says. I'm number 10 of 11. I don't have any say in anything. I'm on the bottom end of everything. I didn't have any right to say anything because there are older siblings all over the place. And so when I said I don't want to do that, she said, "Oh, come on." And so I said, "All right." And I really kind of half-heartedly said, "Oh, I'll do it." I emailed this lady, her neighbor, my sister's neighbor, and we started developing this relationship over email and messenger.
With the email.
Email, it's really low level stuff. It's just, my heart's not in it, but I started getting some emails back and some texts back or some messengers back, and I thought, this lady's kind of cool. And I just kept doing it, and we just kind of developed this little relationship until I started, and now I started traveling. So I'd leave at 5 p.m. from Phoenix, get to my sister's house at midnight.
Wow.
We'd have a date, walk around the neighborhood, have a little date. I'd go to bed at like 5 in the morning, get up at 10, get back over to her house. We did that for several weekends. I'd leave on Sunday at 5 and ride back in Phoenix at midnight.
Wow.
And then go back to work.
Wow.
And so I did that for a few months, and then finally decided I'm going to move up there. And so I moved here to St. George, Utah, where I'm at, and then started dating a little bit more. And then it's time.
Well, you moved up with the kids too?
No. The kids. My wife, after 3.5 years of running around, she decided she wanted the kids back, and there were only 3 left at the time. And she actually decided she was going to move in with her parents that lived in California. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity for the kids to get to know their grandparents. And thankfully I did that. About 2 months after the kids moved in, their grandfather passed away. He discovered suddenly that he had cancer. It was very fast moving, and he passed away.
Wow.
And so the kids were there to comfort grandma and everything, and it was just kind of a better situation. So I am all alone. I don't have the kids with me.
Oh.
Good question, yeah.
Oh, so you're enjoying yourself now.
What am I supposed to do with that? Advertise? Hello, Rick. I'm Gifts. What do you have for me today? I mean, it's just awkward to try to have a communication. So that's when I contacted Dr. Chapman, asked him if he was going to license any of those icons, or if he was doing any licensing, I was going to make it a game. Because I remember when I was little, even as dysfunctional as our family was, I remember when I was little that I liked playing games in my family, and it just kind of brought the family together. I wondered if something like that with the love languages would actually bring the family together and bring people together. So that was my idea.
Mm-hmm.
His attorney sent me back a letter, said, no, we're not licensing those. So I found a copyright attorney here in my town, and he said that theory is not copyrightable, but application is. So my application of making this a game and was fine. I made my own icons, put the pictures on there, and then just made it work. Just roll the die every day, give away that love language all day long.
So are you selling it as a game online?
Yeah, it's online.
And where can they find it?
So they can find it on my website. The website's Roll of Love, ROLE of love.com. So it's kind of a play on words, Rick. ROLL is what you do with the die when you're rolling the die, but ROLE changes you inside. And so that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted to make sure that this change inside. It's really kind of miraculous. If you believe in miracles, this is a modern day miracle. Because I had that stacking that I was doing of the annoyances and flashing, and my brother had it too. Everybody in my family had it. But by focusing on loving, focusing now, the new mindset is what's right about that person, what can I love about that person? Before, I would always go to the critical side and say, what's wrong with that person? And then go down that critical path and you get to the judgment and then you're kind of messed up because you're watching somebody else, you're making a judgment call which isn't yours about somebody else, and then you're getting annoyed about that. And found that I was so busy watching for what's right about people and what the good parts of people were that I didn't even go there. 30 days of doing that is all it took for me, Rick. 30 days, and miraculously, I have never gone back. I don't get annoyed like that anymore.
Wow. So, did you have to go through therapy to work on your anger? Because it seems like anger issues run through your family, like you said.
I did. I actually did. And you know what? I actually voluntarily went after an incident in my family. I voluntarily went to anger management and was there for 12 months. And a volunteer inside anger management class is really kind of a different thing because most of the other people are there involuntarily. They got caught. They didn't volunteer information that they'd done something wrong in their family. They got caught. And so one guy got caught. He was holding his wife up by the neck with his hand like this, her feet off the ground and her back against the wall until she fainted. So that was why he was there. Domestic violence. Another one, he beat his girlfriend so badly that she was in the hospital. Those guys got caught doing really bad things. I slapped my son. That's what happened. I slapped my son and turned myself in. Said that I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to overcome that problem that was handed down for generations and generations. I wanted to overcome it.
So let me ask you a question. Did you ever see your father put hands on your mother?
Never.
Did your mother ever complain about that?
Complain about not being slapped? No.
No, complain about being slapped.
No. She more or less held her tongue because she didn't want to cross, and that was one thing that my mother and father kind of decided that they're going to be on the same page. And I realized that early on, that they always decided they were going to be on the same page with the children, which is really, when you're parenting, that's really a good thing, because you don't want to kind of be in conflict when you're in front of the children and you're facing a situation. You don't want to have parental conflict because now the child's won. Regardless of what happens, the child really has won. And so it wasn't ever that type of situation. And I think my mother, if she opposed the spankings and if she opposed any of the punishments, she probably wouldn't be telling the bad stuff that happened during the week that we never even remembered, and that we got spanked or we got the belt or whatever. We got punished for the bad things that we did during the week that we didn't even remember. So I think that if she was on board, I think she probably was on board with the discipline, the way that discipline. I just had a memory today too, and this kind of gives you the feeling of what the era was. It's like Ghostbusters. Who are you going to call? There was nobody to call about child abuse during that time frame. I don't know who there was. In fact, I remember my brothers actually in woodshop in high school making paddles that had little divots in it. They drilled down, not all the way through, but halfway or just down maybe 1/8 of an inch, and put little marks in the paddle, had a handle and everything, and it was a whacking paddle. It was something that you would spank people with. That's what they made in woodshop. And the school board, they were supporting that. They were allowing kids to make that. That was a suggested type of project that
Wait, but what would they do with it after they make it? What was that? Like a fetish thing?
No, they would hold it in a room, and it became more of a weapon than anything else.
To use against who?
Brothers. Brother against brother, or
parents?
Don't mess with my stuff type of thing. Yeah. So it was more of a threat. It's just like wearing pistol on your hip and walking around. It's like gunslinging, only it's with a paddle gun.
What do you think about that, walking around with a pistol on your belt? Do you think that's looking for a war, or you think that's looking for peace?
Well, it depends on the situation. I think that obviously the policemen need to have that for our protection and for their own protection. They're the ones that are catching the bad guys that are doing things, and they probably need that for themselves. But I think that somebody brandishing something like that, there's a message there, and there's a message that they want to send that way. And
what message is that?
The message that don't mess with me. And I think that you can send that message in other ways. But the better message to send is, I care about you, I love you. I mean, what is there to love? There is some good. I believe, Rick, there's good in everybody. Some good in everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're watching for. When we're rolling the die, when you're sending out the love language, you're watching for what's right about them, and you're kind of focusing on that. I do a lot of that with words. Even for yourself, for the great humanitarian efforts that you're doing in Haiti, that you introduced the program with, and the things that you're doing and what your ministry is doing, those are great things that I would have never known unless you, I could look it up, I imagine, but I would have never known unless you said something about it. And those are things that you praise people about. Those are things that you say that person has a really kind heart. That person is helping people outside of themselves. It's not about them. And it's not about boasting about doing that sort of thing. It's about helping other people and making their day a little bit better. We all have people that we can reach down to pull up. We all have, even on our lowest day, Rick, on our very lowest day, there's always somebody having a worse day than us. Always. Mm-hmm. And there's people that have a lot better days, but there's people, wherever we're at, there'll always be people that have a worse day. Our responsibility is to lift them up. And that's what this is all about. You know, the Sanskrit dialect in northern India has given us words in our language. They give us the words of nirvana, which is a worship word. They give us the word karma. And they also give us a word called namaste. That's putting the hands together with your thumb to the chest, and then they say namaste. Both bow their head and close their eyes and say namaste. It's a reverence to that person, and it's really kind of a sacred thing that they do. They do it, and the Hindu interpretation of that is that the God in me sees the God in you. Or, put another way, the divine in me sees the divine in you.
And the only God that man will see is the God in you and me.
Pardon?
The only God that man will see is the God within you and me.
That's right. That's right. That's a good way to say it. Yeah, absolutely. I like that. So watch for it. I mean, we're children of God. Watch for that. Watch for that heritage that we have. And focus on that. And if we focus on that and stop focusing on what's wrong with people or the mistakes that people make, just think of it this way. If we send anger out, we get immediate return on that investment. We send love out, we got to trust that it's going to come back. It's almost like putting money into a piggy bank, but we're sending it out there without any thought of reciprocation, sending it out there without any expectation that it's coming back. But
let me give you an example, right? Because you gave me an example about what you did, right? The sacrifices. Oftentimes right now in the dating world, it seems that sometimes things could be unbalanced in the sense that you talking about investments and expecting a return on your investment at times and love not being transitional. Okay. Nowadays, if you were to go on a date with a woman, she's going to expect you to pay for it, right? And let's say the woman, like you said, she might live further than you. So you might be paying expenses like, let's say, gas, maybe toll, or whatnot, whatever else in between or whatnot. And when you get there, you then have to pick her up, get yourself ready, all the things that come along with it, and then you paying for the meal, right? And to pay for 2 people nowadays is highly expensive. And then at the end of the night, she's gonna say, "Oh, just because you paid, doesn't mean that I have to pay you with sex." Okay, that's fair. Granted, we both ate, we both enjoyed ourselves. That's fine. But at the same time, there's people that will use that as a manipulation, in a sense that they'll say, "Oh, okay, it's not transitional," but at the same time, they'll still continue to try to lure you in with sexual innuendos, or with the promise of sex, or with the illusion of the promise of sex, so that they could continue to benefit or reap the benefits of that transaction without having to give nothing in exchange. So what's your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts are that you're talking about a transaction, and we've talked about this. Transactions are not love. So if you're sending something out and hoping that something's coming back to you, that's reciprocation, and that's a transaction. That's not what I'm talking about at all. That's not what I wrote the book about. That's not what I made the dice for. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about genuine love, genuine care for a human being, and regardless of the outcome, regardless if she refuses sex, and you're not looking for that. Hopefully, you're not looking for that, because if you're looking for that, that's a transaction. You're having that expectation. It's not about you anymore, Rick, and it's not about me. It's about them, and it's about making them feel loved, and about helping them feel like they're on the top of the world. When they feel that way, they're going to spread that influence, that loving influence, to all the people within their circle of influence. Just contrast that with anger. You make somebody have a bad day because you're angry at them, or you're angry because of something else. You send that out, and you make somebody else have a bad day, and they're going to send that to their circle of influence. And I think that's kind of where the world's come to, is that we're just sending out too much anger, way too much anger.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that, okay, it's not transitional, but at the same time, someone is making a transaction, the person that is spending the amount of money. So within the dating phase, where both people are dating and they're both trying to get to know each other, and they're both showing different expressions of love, do you believe that both individuals should spend money on each other, or do you believe in where the woman states the man pays for every single thing, all the way up until she feels that it's time for her to show some reciprocation?
Yeah, we're in 2020, and I would say that there's got to be some participation that way. That's just my own personal opinion, and that just most of the time they're working and you're working. They have sometimes women have a greater income than men, so I think it should be kind of an equal thing that way, as far as who pays for what. And I think most people that would be reasonable would understand that that's not the biggest thing that you're going to face, who pays for it. And don't worry about paying for it. What you're trying to accomplish, if you're dating, you should be trying to accomplish is the relationship, building a relationship. And it has nothing to do with money. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Absolutely has nothing to do with money. So I think that in a just a logical sense, kind of a judicial.
Wait, hold on. You said it has nothing to do with money. I think it does, because money has a lot to do with where you sleep, where you eat, how you live, and who you around. And I think when it comes to even dating, like, you know, your apartment has to be decent. You have to be able to bring them somewhere. Like, women get hungry a lot, so they're gonna be like, oh, I'm hungry. Like, they'll sit and wait hours until you come and meet them just so you can buy them the food, so they don't have to pay for it. So it's like, you know, this is real life.
That waiting power, huh? Is that what you're finding out there? I'm out of the dating market, so you have to educate me on this, Rick. You're gonna have to tell me how is it out there? It sounds like it's pretty rough. And so
It's horrible, man.
It sounds horrible. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry that it's that way. But in my experience, a reasonable woman will occasionally cough up and occasionally pay for things. In fact, my own situation right now, I pay for all the bills. I pay for the house. I pay for the food. I pay for the electricity. I pay for all those things.
Wow.
And my wife is in charge of fun. So if she wants to have fun, it's on her. So she has tried to make these exotic trips, and we've had a lot of fun, just a lot of fun, because she's in charge of fun, and she's kind of that yellow personality and just likes to have a lot of fun. So she's in charge of that, and she's paying for that.
Wow.
So that's how we split it. And I think that you can come to terms with whoever you're dating, and come to terms with that early, because you should not be, as a male, I don't think you should be expected to pay for everything. Absolutely everything, because it should be give and take. That's what love is all about.
Yeah, and I think that's the point that I was trying to drive home. Like, don't make the statement that you're not about to be used, but at the same time you're trying to use someone. It's not fair. It's supposed to be even. You know?
I wouldn't get caught up on it. I wouldn't get hung up on that. Like I said, you're trying to get to their heart. You're trying to find out what makes this person tick. What is good about this person, and watch for those things. And like I say, that's character within, and that has nothing to do with money. That's what I'm telling you. Has nothing to do with money. Someone that absolutely loves you really wouldn't care where they lived, as long as it's in a place that they felt safe. That's your job, and that's my job, Rick. As males, our job is to make those women feel safe, and wherever they feel safe, there's going to be love there, and they're the homemaker. They're the one that can make a house a home, an apartment a home, and they're just the one that doll it up. When I got married, I had some men that knew me before I got married, and then after I got married, and probably a couple of weeks after I got married, they came in that house where we lived and said, "Oh, Paul must have got married. This looks different in here." And it'd been dolled up, and it'd been upgraded, obviously, because she was there. And so it's just that sort of thing. I think that women really adorn men, that they really make men look good in that way.
Yeah, that's good, man. So, what do you feel like has been the greatest thing that you have learned from marriage, and that you would like to share with the people watching?
I think that if you go back to, I'm going to address that question, and thank you for that question, Rick. I'm going to address it in a way from the Bible, that about the Last Supper, that when Jesus is doing the Last Supper, he says, "One of you will betray me," and the answer, or the question that all the disciples asked of Jesus, "Lord, is it I?" That if we can just take that phrase into our marriage, "Lord, is it I?" and just consider our own actions, consider our own thoughts, consider everything that we're doing. Is it me that's causing this disruption within this relationship? And if we'll just do that refreshing of our own that self-actualization, so to speak, of our own actions and our own thoughts, "Lord, is it I?" we will be given the information. It will come to us. We'll be given the information. What do I need to do to make this relationship better? And put it on yourself. Quit blaming other people, or blaming your spouse, or blaming your significant other for a relationship falling apart. Take care of yourself. Make sure that you are the very best that you can be, and always ask, "Lord, is it I?" And ask Him, "What can I do to improve? What can I do better? What is it that would help me be a better person within this relationship?"
I hear you. And going back to that, the Last Supper, where you said, Lord, is it I? And, just even thinking about that, the moments leading up to that, and everything, and just this entire conversation, it seems that you're led by faith a lot. So tell us how long you've been in the faith, and how has the faith molded your life?
My father never joined any church at all, but my mother joined the church 3 years before I was born, and I was raised in faith with that. So I was kind of raised in the faith, but we just had that conflict, always that conflict. You know, they were smokers and drinkers. They taught us children, don't smoke, don't drink. It was like the spanking. Don't you hit anybody, and then they'd hit you. And it was just that hypocritical sense that had, and I really had to learn to try to be a true person. What is genuine, what is something where words match actions, and that really was something that religion did for me. Is that whatever Jesus said, that's what he did, and it helped me understand that there's an example out there of somebody that has their words and their actions reconciled. They have it together. And I wanted to be like that, like a person like that would, whatever I said, I would mean what I said. Mm-hmm. And not in a mean way, and I don't mean mean in the mean way, but it would be exactly what I would do. And so my words and actions would match. I wanted that in my life.
Mm-hmm. And that led you to Christianity?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually kept me along the path Christianity all through this time. And I had a long ways to go. You can understand from the story I told about my grandfather and about those generational dysfunctions that were passed down. I had to, one by one, stop that generational damage that was continuing on because my parents didn't know. Mm-hmm. And their parents didn't know, and we only get from our parents what they know. And so we don't know what they didn't know, we don't know what we don't know. And so what it worked out is that so I just wanted to be more like Jesus, having that just having the words and actions match together. And that's all I can say. I've been doing it for a long time. Trying, just keep trying. And I think those are the best people that you want to associate with. Those kind of people that realize their weaknesses, those kind of people that realize that with God they're nothing, and without God they're nothing. Mm-hmm. But with God's help they can be something. They can be a better person. I think it's very important.
Yeah, I know that there's a scripture in the book of Matthew where Jesus is speaking to the people, and he said that he's telling them basically look at the Pharisees and the Sadducees and to listen to what they preach, but to what they practice do not. For they preach it, but they do not practice it. And I spoke on this twice. The first time I spoke on it, I called it practicing while preaching. And so a lot of the times when you put into a certain role, like you said, like you want to be a man of your word, you want to do everything that you say that you're going to do, so you want to do it, and you want to be more Christ-like. But then even if we go back to around the same time, prior to the Last Supper, when Christ was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and then he went to pray, and then he was asking his Father to take the bitter cup away from him. And they were saying that he was under so much stress that it was almost like he was sweating blood at the time. And we see the human aspect of Christ, where he has to do certain things, even things that he doesn't want to do, and his flesh is going against it, but his will, or you could say the God in him, the Spirit, is giving him strength, because they said that an angel or spirit came in and provided him comfort during that time.
Minister to him, right?
And so when we put all that together, and then we look at life right now, when we are going through all these difficult times, and we are going through these hardships, or whatever it is, whether it be love, whether it be life, and we're asking for God to take it away, and we're asking for refuge, and God is saying, my grace is sufficient. And so we're asking for that grace to come faster, or for the grace to come in a way of which we expect it to be, knowing that we will never be perfect like Christ. And that's what the scripture says. The scripture says that my grace is sufficient, because when you are at your weakest, that's when I am at my strongest. So we need that weakness so that we can lean upon God. And I think just wanting to be closer to Christ, or wanting to be more like Christ, is what helps us to continue to do the work and help us to continue to move forward. At least for me, I'm speaking for myself, on my behalf.
I absolutely agree with you, Rick. And you want to take a look at the picture right behind me here. And this is something that, an epiphany I had. I was a route driver for about a year, probably, I'm thinking maybe 25 years ago. And I would get up in the morning prior to dawn, and I'd be on the road, and I'd come home after sunset. So I saw a lot of sunsets, and saw a lot of sunrises and a lot of sunsets in that route job that I had. But what the epiphany was that the very best sunrises, like this one, and the very best sunsets all have clouds. And it's that adversity that we have in our life, those clouds that we have in our life, that polish us. It's those weaknesses or those clouds in our life that's actually at the end of a life going to be an absolute beautiful sunset. We're the ones that create the silver linings in those clouds as we go through that adversity in our life. As we work with Jesus, work with God to help us through those clouds, He's the one that helps it be so beautiful for us. Most of us couldn't do it without Him.
Amen, amen. And with that, we're at time. So we thank you all for joining us. I want to thank my special guest, Paul, for joining in. Paul was very determined to be on the show. We actually missed Monday. Monday was a holiday. I lost track of time, but we was able to reschedule for today. So I want to thank you very much for coming on the platform. For the people that want to get your dice, right? One more time, where can they get the dice from? And
you can get it from my website, roleoflove.com, ROLE of love.com. And I've got a book available and a journal as well, so they can keep track of what they roll, what opportunities they see, and what they do about those opportunities every day.
Yeah, you should send us one,
Absolutely should. I'm glad to.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. So appreciate it. Also, once again, we thank all of you that continue to support the ministry, all of you that continue to support everything that we're doing. This year has been a phenomenal year, from the different experiences to the different places to even getting awarded, the different award shows, the different galas, being able to meet different people. And we want to thank God for helping this ministry continue to grow. And it has been a ministry of love, and it's been able to be successful because of you, because of your prayers, because of your well wishes, and because of your donations. And so we wouldn't be able to do it without you, and therefore we want to thank you. We'll close this out with a prayer. Paul, you want to close out with the prayer?
Sure, I'm glad to. Our eternal Father, which art in heaven, we're so grateful for Rickard and for the ministry that he's doing, for the love that he has for the love that he has for thy children. Bless him in his ministry, and bless him with donations that he might continue the ministry, that he might have his coffers overflowing with the funds that he needs to accomplish thy will. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you, Paul. Thank you all for watching, and God bless and good night. Take care.
It's the real world.